way. There we go. It's always important to unmute yourself. Welcome, everybody, to the Disability Connections, which is our online community. Here at Disability Connections, you can find our community at disabilityconnections.tv. Our website for Disability Connections is just .com, disabilityconnections.com. We have an exciting morning this morning, and it's a individual that I consider a friend, also a pinnacle leader of our community, and been wanting to do this for forever and for a long time. And now that we're able to kind of provide some content and have discussions and be able to share it with you, the Middle Georgia area and the community as well as elsewhere. But number one, I just want to say I'm glad you're here. My name is Michael Leverett. I'm the Executive Director of Disability Connections. And we have been around since 1995, and early on, we actually had a wonderful connection and memorandum of understanding with this entity that I'm fixing to share with you. It's actually the Macon Housing Authority, and the guest that I have with me today is Mike Austin. Everybody, welcome Mike. Hey, we're going to
everybody.
We'll change this up a little bit. Here we go. There we go. All right. And we have some help on the cameras over here. She'll get us straightened out here in just a moment. But the beauty of live TV. Mike, it's great to have you with us. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been to our building, and and now we have a new little studio.
I love it.
Yeah. So this is great. We have a lot to talk about this morning, but I do want to share with you, and I was inspired by what you all did with your building, in the fact that there are some wonderful safety issues, and then when COVID came around and all of that, everything became even more important. But I don't know. I'm gonna share this with y'all, and I want the viewers to see this too, and anybody who is wanting to reach out to us that has a disability in regards to a Section 8 voucher. I want to show you the best way to kind of come up to us in the biggest safe way, and it'll take over everything here for a second. Here we go. Go ahead.
Hey, how can I help you then?
Yeah, I got some documents to give you.
Okay, thanks. All right.
That is our little service window. So, all things COVID, all things safety,
Right.
and so it does help out a lot with that. So, Mike, tell me, how are you doing?
Doing great, and very glad to be here. As you mentioned a minute ago, the Housing Authority and Disability Connections started this awesome relationship, gosh, over 20 years ago now. And it's just really blossomed, and ever since then, we try not to do anything. We try not to do anything without first thinking about, okay, how do we develop something and make it accessible, and how do we serve people who need accessibility features, and try to make things a lot more friendly along those lines. So as you mentioned, it's been a great relationship. We will continue to grow this. Of course, I consider Michael a great friend. It's just been a really long and good relationship. So I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited about this conversation that we have, and anytime we get together and talk, it's always a great conversation. And yeah, it was quite a few years ago that we started this MOU with the former director.
That's right.
Yeah, and his wife had muscular sclerosis. Yeah,
That's right.
and so he had a passion for accessibility. So we've been kind of partnering on different projects and encouraging each other in our work in multiple ways. And so tell me, basically that. Some people might be watching this, may not have a clear understanding of what the Macon Housing Authority is, and are there other entities like that?
Right. So that's a very good question. The Macon Housing Authority is basically it's a large property development corporation. So we administer several. Oh, look over there. Okay, we administer several programs, Section 8, public housing, and then we do a lot of tax credit properties where we bring in private investors and they help us obtain money to build new affordable housing. So one of the biggest challenges really in this industry is especially today, is the lack of affordable housing. And everybody who's watching this we all watch the news every day, and we understand how difficult it is to find good housing at every price point. It could be affordable, and it could be on the other end of the spectrum as well. It's very, very difficult right now. And frankly, it's been difficult for probably over a decade, and it's just been in the last couple of years where that's really come to a head because of COVID and all the challenges that we're seeing as a society. So it's a really challenging time, but there's a lot of opportunity out there as well. And as technology continues to advance, as building codes continue to evolve, I think there's a lot of really good opportunity to build more housing, to retrofit more housing that's more accessible, and more of it. So that's in a nutshell, that's what the Housing Authority does. We build and maintain and manage affordable housing, and we do that in a couple ways. Either we build something brand new, we'll find a piece of land and build something brand new, or we'll find a property that maybe has been in service for 20, 30, 40 years, even longer, and if it makes sense mathematically and financially, then we'll rehab that property and preserve it. So there's a lot of housing out there that was built in the 70s and 80s, and now those properties are kind of reaching their end of life, if you will, and they're becoming functionally obsolete. And so we have to ask ourselves, okay, does it make sense to tear this property down and build new, or does it make sense to take what we have and rehab it? And so we've done all of those scenarios. We just have to sit down and really think it through. And so we develop affordable housing not only in Macon, but all over the state of Georgia through the tax credit program. So if we look at a particular year and we decide, gosh, there's nothing that we can buy this year in Macon, or nothing seems to work out financially, then we'll go to other communities in Georgia and we'll ask the same questions. And so through that process, we've developed things up in as far as away as Rome, Georgia, in the north. And we've developed a property down in Blackshear, Georgia, which is clear south of here. And then anything and everything in between we've done. So that helps that particular community. And so if you look at the Housing Authority's broad mission, if you will, is to build and maintain affordable housing, primarily in Macon Bibb, but we'll do it all over the state when the opportunity presents itself. And that helps people everywhere. And so that's real exciting.
And let me just say that, and I'm going to go back to this other scene right here. There we go. And to think about it, if you're listening to this, Macon Housing Authority is involved in all these other projects. I talked to an agency yesterday, and the Macon Housing Authority has done more for accessibility in housing. It's just been incredible. And we're going to actually maybe talk about a few of those, and then we're going to also talk about some of the plans that you guys have for the Middle Georgia area, but also just we can also have a discussion about what are some of the challenges that we as an organization, and housing is so important for folks with disabilities, that we're running into some barriers in today's environment and time.
Right.
But before we do anything, because I'm going to get passionate, we're going to get talking, and I know I'm going to forget this, and it doesn't deserve forgetting for sure. But one of the reasons I had you come in today, but we wanted to recognize the Macon Housing Authority for your brilliant work, and some other awards probably need to go out to some of the contractors and the architects and designers of some of these projects and when I say projects, it could be any type of housing that
Sure.
y'all are involved in. Y'all have looked at visitability, which was basically a concept that means any person in a wheelchair or walker could visit any other person. That has been looked at and implemented in some areas, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I just want to say thank you. On behalf of Disability Connections, we want to thank you, and the disability community wants to thank you for all that you have done. And so
You're welcome.
I have a little something here. And
All
it's,
right,
it's
all
a
right.
certificate of recognition, and what it says is this certificate recognizes on the 32nd anniversary of the ADA, the Macon Housing Authority, for the dedication of Mike Austin and his staff to the full implementation of the ADA's most integrated setting clause, supporting the transition of those in nursing homes and institutions. And this is awarded by this day by Disability Connections on July 28th today.
Awesome.
And so
Thank you
I'm
very
gonna
much.
present
That
this
is
to you.
awesome. We'll share this with the staff. That is tremendous. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a huge honor, and of course nothing. I always say nothing. I can't do anything alone. You can't do anything
No.
alone. But
No.
with teams and with other people in collaboration, there's nothing we can't do.
And let me explain a little bit of language on that. Is that the disability community in Georgia specifically is where the Olmstead decision was made.
Yeah,
It was a
that's right.
Supreme Court decision that basically said that states and entities need to provide attendant care services to support folks to be in the community in the most integrated
That's right.
setting possible. And housing is one huge key that it is a struggle. But I can tell you in Macon, we have been able to help transition quite a few folks out of nursing homes. And those who have been lucky enough to get into some of the projects that you guys are working on, I don't think they're letting go of those properties.
No.
Once you're in, you do not want to get out.
That's right.
So thank you, and we appreciate all.
You're
that,
welcome. You're
all that
welcome.
y'all do.
That's great. We appreciate you guys, and I'll make sure I share this with our board of commissioners, who are very, as you know, Michael, they're very forward thinking, very passionate, and our employees. If you want to work at the Housing Authority, you've got to be passionate and about helping people, and it's a lot of fun. And so, thank you very much.
Oh, we appreciate
that.
you. Appreciate everybody over there, and y'all are great to work with. And I know sometimes things are hectic and challenging, and
Sure.
we kind of knock harder and things like that. But
Right.
and y'all have to do it with us. This is missing or that, so it's real important. And just let me explain for the viewers what our MOU is. It's a memorandum of understanding that we have a precedence of referring people who are on the top of the list, anybody who is getting out of a nursing facility or institution and needs housing. We refer, we don't grant, we don't do anything other than refer to the Macon Housing Authority for a consideration for a housing choice voucher, or
That's
what
right.
is popularly known as a Section 8 voucher. And then you have so many days to find that housing, and we try to work with that process. And we work with another entity as well, and that does the same thing. And so we give priority for those, so they don't have to wait very long, provided we get all the paperwork and all of those things put together.
That's right.
But part of that memorandum is, as well, is that we kind of manage the waiting list for anybody who is has a disability, usually on SSI or SSDI, who are waiting to get housing. And that waiting list has grown beyond measure. A lot of folks on that, and some people who are on our list might even come up on it, and they get referred. There may be a back payment, or there may be a criminal background issue or something like that prevents them from
Right.
getting a voucher.
Right.
But for a lot of folks, it has worked,
Mhm.
and some folks have been extremely patient and waiting for that time. And let me just also just reiterate the fact that if you're on that list, you cannot be in some other housing that is subsidized in some way. So if you're receiving
Right.
any kind of federal assistance for your rent, you're not really supposed to be on our list, and we are not allowed to refer you. So we
Right.
try to screen that as
Right.
much as we
Right.
can. But
Right.
we are so grateful for that program, and that the fact that we can do that. It's been fantastic. So with that being said, that's kind of about our MOU. Let's talk about some of the exciting things that you guys are involved in or have been involved in, and I know we have some images of some of the renderings that what's going on. So give us an update and kind kind of take it away and tell us
Sure,
what's going on.
Sure. So thank you. So as I mentioned before, we're really in the business of building and maintaining and managing affordable housing. So in Macon right now, there's a lot of exciting properties coming out of the ground. So we have one up on Northside Drive. It's called Northside Senior Village. It's about 90% there. Construction right now is a very fluid market.
Northside Senior Village.
Northside Senior
All
Village.
right,
So
let's
you
take
prob-
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
So sorry, we lost audio there. Sometimes AI is
Yeah,
somewhere
good-
embedded in there and saying, "Be quiet."
good old technology.
Yeah.
So this is what we call brand new affordable housing. Obviously, we purchased this land a couple years back, right next to Ortho, Georgia. So those of you who are watching from Macon, a lot of people know where Ortho, Georgia is. Great location. So you're close to I-75.
Yep.
You're close to Kroger. You're close to all kinds of
Culver's.
Yeah, all close to all kinds of amenities, and when that's finished, it's just going to be a beautiful property. And the interesting thing is that when we started advertising this property a couple years back, really, we started getting phone calls, people wanting to get on the waiting list. And it just shows the demand for good affordable housing, really for any affordable housing.
Right. It is.
And so we have over 100 people on that waiting list right now. We're processing folks so that as soon as we get the COs, which is a certificate of occupancy, the county and the inspectors have to sign off, make sure everything's safe, and so on and so forth, we'll start moving people in. And then we'll manage it, and that will be a really nice asset for Macon for decades to come.
Yeah, and it looks beautiful. What are some of the accessibility features?
So all the standard features is visitable. The hallways are wide. The rooms and the doorways are all widened and up to code. And so it's three stories, and it's got 2 elevators on each side of the building, large elevators, and so we're just really excited. And I went up to the 3rd floor with the contractor several months ago, and we were looking out the back of the building, and there's nothing but green forest. And I remember the contractor said, "Gosh, I want to move in here." I said, "I do too." What a great view, what a great location. So as soon as that's finished, again, it will be really good affordable housing for seniors. We also, another exciting one, I think you've got the rendition, is Central City Apartments.
Let's see. Is it
See if you can pull that one
Is
up.
it Walnut Street?
Yep, Walnut Street.
Okay, great.
Yep. So
Here we go.
there's the rendition of Walnut Street. We're calling it Central City Apartments. That's one building, just the general rendition, of course. But there'll actually be 3 buildings.
Wow, where exactly would that be?
So if you're from Macon, most people know where Daybreak is. So Daybreak, good friends of ours, Sister Teresa and DePaul, USA. So it's right next to Daybreak. So we purchased that lot next to Daybreak a couple
that's
years
fantastic.
back, and bought that actually from the Urban Development Authority, who had it. And we told them what we wanted to do with it, and they were just really excited, obviously. And so we purchased that property, and we broke ground just about a month ago,
Wow.
and had a ceremony, and
You guys are so busy.
yeah, we are, and the community support, Michael, was just unbelievable. I mean, we had, well, 100 people show up, and it was a hot summer day, and we're thinking, gosh, it's going to be so hot, no one's going to show up, but they did, and it was great. And so that will be done hopefully in about 14 months. Again, the construction industry, as you guys know, is fluid right now. There's labor challenges, and there's supply challenges, and so on. But hopefully in 14 months that will be all complete. And really, a really interesting feature about this property is that because of our partnership with DePaul USA, there will be 11 beds of respite beds in this particular property.
Oh, wow.
So that means that if I'm homeless and I go to the hospital, maybe I have a serious condition, I go into the hospital for surgery, I'm released from the hospital. If I don't have a place to live, then guess what? The chances of me getting reinfected or having some further issue with that particular health challenge I had might become a problem again. Well, guess what? I'm going to go right back to the hospital. And so a respite is designed to allow people who are homeless to come right out of the hospital and go right into the respite portion of this property, where DePaul will manage that. There will be medical professionals there to help people really get better. While they're doing that, the support staff at DePaul, or at Daybreak I should say, will work very hard to try to find people who are in that respite situation, help them to find housing, whether it be through the Housing Authority or some other agency or some other property owner. So that is a very unique property. It will serve what we call workforce housing. So downtown, all of us are very proud of what's going on in downtown Macon. There's new eateries, there's great nightlife, there's lots of good things going on, there's lots of lofts and great places to live, but there's not a lot of affordable housing.
Sure.
And workforce housing. So this will help alleviate that and become, a nice investment for downtown Macon, a great place to live, especially if you work downtown. You work at one of the restaurants, you work at a hotel, wherever. I mean, there's hundreds of businesses downtown where people work. And so what a great idea to be able to live close to where you work. I wish I lived close to where I work, so I didn't have to pay these crazy gas prices, don't we all?
Yeah.
And so we're real excited about that. Again, 15 months, that will be complete.
And then when the cherry blossom comes around, you just walk out the door
Absolutely.
and participate and
Absolutely.
have fun. So
Yeah.
it's a great place to be.
Yeah, we did contact the Cherry Blossom, our good friends at the Cherry Blossom Festival. When they learned about what we were doing here, they were super excited about it, because really, think about it, it's going to enhance, it's really the gateway, the Walnut Street corridor, as I call it, is the gateway to so many great things that happen. Cherry Blossom Festival, we've got the Elaine Lucas Senior Center there, the Macon Bacon baseball team, and so many great features. So we're real excited about this great location. So that's underway. As you mentioned, it keeps us all very busy. But that's what we do. We're trying as hard as we can to work as fast as we can to help as many people as we can, whether they need affordable housing, whether they need accessible affordable housing, and so on. So we're real excited about that.
Yeah, congratulations on that. And I bet you have even more going on in place.
We do. Yes, we do. So
or maybe you have something in the past. I have one that I haven't shown, is the Tyndall.
Oh yeah. Let's look at Let's look. How could I forget that? That's there's the rendition.
And just so you'll know too, that we've had some folks that we were working with trying to get out of the nursing home, And we try to ask certain questions, you know, like,
Right.
number one, do you like football?
Right.
I said, yeah,
Right.
yeah, I do. And I said, well, if you know, applied for this particular area or this
Right.
particular location, you're just
Sure.
right across the street and you're
Sure.
at a Mercer
football game.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Absolutely. Right. I mean, you can literally from Tyndall, you can, if you have a good arm, you can take a baseball and you could throw it over to Mercer
Yeah.
and to land on their property. That's how close we are.
Exactly.
So yeah, the rendition you see there is what we call the Tyndall Fields development. And again, for those of you who are from Macon, you'll remember it used to be Tyndall Heights, traditional public housing. And Tyndall Heights was built in 39, 40, and 41.
right.
And so again, it became functionally obsolete. It was 412 units of highly dense public housing.
Wow.
And it served a great purpose and many, many wonderful people.
And in today's, I guess, standards, it was kind of crammed.
Absolutely, absolutely. And many wonderful people in this community lived there, grew up there, and went on to do many great things. But it became functionally obsolete. And so it was cramped, it was highly dense, and so we demolished it all. But before we did that, of course, we offered everybody who lived there, and I think there were about 396 people at the time
Wow.
who lived there, and we offered every person a Section 8 voucher, or they could move to another one of our sites. And so I would say about 20% of the people moved to other sites, and the majority of the people, families who lived there, took a voucher and moved out into the community with private landlords. So once that property was cleared, we came back in phases and built the first one. The first property we built was the senior center. It's to my right. It's
Yeah.
probably to everyone's
And
left.
so,
Kind of
just-
shaped like a V.
Yeah, yeah, and it's shaped like a V. And what's the total area of all of this
Oh
Tyndall
gosh, the
Heights?
whole thing's probably 20 acres or
Okay.
so.
And the senior thing is kind of like a V. It's on
Yep.
the right side.
Yep.
What are the things towards the front? Looks like
So the
shops,
yep. So
basically?
that's the rendition of the commercial piece that has not yet been built out,
gotcha.
but that's what it could look like. So that piece, that commercial piece, is the housing authority owns that strip outright. So that means we can sell it, we can lease it, we can do whatever we want with it. There's no federal or state money tied to it.
but it's a support for your
Huge
for everything.
support,
Yeah,
sure,
for everything that you're doing.
sure.
And then what's to the left of there? Looks like some kind of community center.
So yeah, you've got, so that could be a community center. So where the road cuts through to Little Richard, that's a kind of a corner lot that would make a great community center. It could make a great office building, a great pharmacy or light grocery. You know, the whole area in the Tyndall Mercer area is what we term as a food desert. And so it's hard for people to find a grocery store close. The grocery stores around, of course, but you got to drive. I think the closest one is 5-6 miles. So,
Oh, wow.
so that can be a challenge. And so it is known as a food desert. So we'd love to see a grocery
That would be
or a
great.
pharmacy right there. It
Yeah.
served the whole community. It served students at Mercer. It'd be a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
So-
it looks like you got other housing
Yep.
buildings, and it
Yep.
looks like they're kind of different
Yep.
styles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So going back to the way the industry used to build public housing, it was highly dense, and it was cramped. And so the old model was let's find a piece of land and let's put as many units as we possibly can on that. That was the old model. Well, nobody wants to live in that, right? And so we've changed that model. Not just Macon Housing Authority, but as an industry, we've changed that. And so it's less dense, it's modern, obviously, it's visitable, and it's all complete now. We've got some landscaping and some things to do, but as far as the structures, they are complete. They're occupied, and unfortunately, we have a waiting list at every one of those
I'm sure.
properties. So that's actually what we call a 4-phased property. We build it in 4 phases, and every phase of that has a long waiting list. And again, it just goes back to the fact that I reiterate all the time that we just unfortunately don't have enough affordable housing or for that matter, since we're here at Disability Connections, we don't have enough accessible, affordable housing as well.
Right.
So yeah, every time we attempt to do something, that we always get with our architects and think about, okay, how do we make it visitable? How do we make it accessible? What features make sense? And if you really want me to get off of my diatribe on that, I will. But whenever you want me to, I will.
Yeah, maybe now, because the question that kind of comes to my thinking is, what can the community do to more? And I know you are doing all that you possibly can, and I don't know if it's a federal level, local level, or community level, and we have huge desire as well as a need for housing, and be it scattered and great. So I love the idea of y'all doing that. And just to add to, the problem that a lot of folks with disabilities are having is finding that accessible, affordable, accessible housing.
Right.
And a lot of times those, especially some of the great projects that y'all
Right.
worked on,
Right.
y'all made it spacious. It's affordable for number one, but the rolling shower, and it's just
Sure.
a nice spacious apartment.
Sure.
And good for the folks that got them, but they're going to hold on to it, which is good.
Right.
It's kind of a self-supporting market with that. But then sometimes there might be a shortage of somebody who could use all the accessibility features of
Right.
that one,
Right.
and then they, if an entity can't fill it, but they want to fill it very quickly,
Yep.
but they didn't match it with somebody who needed
Right.
the accessibility features, and then it just kind of adds to that problem
It
of
does.
more
It
affordability.
does,
So
yeah.
with all that I just threw at you,
So yeah, that's a challenge, because you've got two sides of when it comes to the financing and the sustainability of a property. We, like anybody else, we have to operate in a world where we got to pay the bills. The revenue that we get in affordable housing is capped by federal or state law. So when the market goes crazy like it is now and costs start to go up, unfortunately, I can't just raise rents. In the private market, when that happens, obviously private owners raise rents to pay for their costs. But we can't do that, so we have to be very, very disciplined. So to your point about, if you have an accessible unit and you don't have someone to fill it at that particular time, that's got to be occupied, because you've got a vacant unit that is affordable that someone needs, and someone gets in there. You're right. Once I get in there, it's so affordable, I don't want to leave, and so that makes it tough. So really, at that level, what probably needs to happen is, if those units are to remain vacant, there needs to be some sort of subsidy from the state, local, or federal level to keep it vacant until such time we can match somebody who really, really needs those features. So that's something, in my opinion, that should have happened a long time ago, and should happen right now. But even better than that is make everything accessible.
right.
With today's construction technology, there is absolutely no reason why whatever we build, whether it's affordable office buildings, it doesn't matter really if you think about it. Everything that's built should be accessible. It's really not that difficult, and if it's done correctly, it doesn't add, as you know, Michael, better than I do, it doesn't add a ton more cost, if any. Again, with the way technology is, and the construction company, construction industry, I should say, has come so far from just a decade ago, let alone 50, 60 years ago, has come so far that with our technology, we should make everything accessible all the time. That way, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about, well, I don't have a person that needs this at this time, but I got to fill the unit, and all the challenges that presents.
And it's a challenge and really a call to action for the builders of any kind.
Yeah.
Whether you're associated with the Macon Housing Authority or not.
Right.
That whole idea of universal accessibility and flexibility is strong. And the fact of the matter is, from my research and my understanding that the disability population is growing.
Absolutely.
The percentage of people with disabilities
Sure.
in our areas, and some of it has to do with the baby boom, and it has to do with other things.
Sure.
But it's increasing, and it's kind of like you go to a fairly large grocery store or something like that, and everybody's fighting over the accessible spaces. Well, we need
Right.
more of those.
Yeah.
But what if
Right.
we design it in such a way that all spaces had some potential of
Right.
accessibility, or we had more, didn't necessarily have to label it, but it allowed for people in vans or walkers and things like that.
Sure.
You can think beyond what the code is. You can think about
Sure.
beyond what is what you're supposed to do, but you can
Right.
think forward and say, you know
Right.
what, how can we make this universal? So
Yeah.
that if somebody in a power chair is wanting to apply and the only thing I have available is over here and it wasn't designed to be accessible,
Right.
well,
right.
why don't we design them all that way?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, with the population changing, you go beyond code, because if you study code in any town, it obviously it evolves over time and it changes. And so, well, I got to meet code today. Well, again, to your point, Michael, what's code going to be in 10 years? It's going to be different than it is today. So why
True.
don't we try to envision that and just, again, make everything accessible? Then you're done with it. You don't have to worry about it. Everybody can assess your business or your apartment building or your amenities downtown, whatever the case may be, and it just makes it so much better for everybody. And I really believe that I think we're going to see more of that in the future, as we continue to evolve as developers and affordable housing operators and so on. So I'm real passionate about that, and I think that it's just something needed, and everyone's got to come together to do it. We just have to will ourselves to do it. So
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to put that challenge to myself and you as well, in regards to if we have opportunities to have conversations with contractors, with designers,
Yeah.
especially the designers, about the challenge that we face, and how can we make properties flexible to the way that it brings, for what their bottom line is the marketability of keeping it filled, keeping it sustainable.
Sure.
Of course, there's all kinds of discussions that could be had of how it's made and things like that for
Sure.
longevity. But, as far as, because a lot of times when somebody makes you a request and a person with a disability gets in there and it's not an accessible unit, they're going to make that request for a change, or if their disability
Sure.
progresses,
Sure,
something
sure.
might need to change.
Right.
So it may be just better to kind of be ready,
Right.
and you just have to put yourself in the fact that we're all temporarily able-bodied,
Right.
and
Right.
you might see yourself or you see your relative or somebody in that role that I would
Right.
love this to work out,
Right.
for somebody like that. And so how can we make it all units that way? So
Right.
it's
That's
a very
right.
passionate thing that we're both passionate about.
That's
And
right.
I'm glad we've been able to have this discussion about that. Just tell me a little bit about what you think, what brought you into this, and a little bit about why are you passionate about this issue, and we'll kind of let that be our last little
All right.
discussion.
All right. So yeah, again, housing as a general rule is just in short supply, and really, if you look at our infrastructure, not just in Macon, but really anywhere, and you try to get around every day, it's hard enough for me to honestly to get in my vehicle, drive across town, go to a bank or the grocery store or whatever, get out, get my groceries, get back in. That you and I, and a lot of us take that for granted. But if I've got challenges, if I don't have a lot of money, if I have a disability, or both, that's huge. To try to navigate the most simple things. Try to get on a bus, go across town, wait in line for something. That is huge. For some people, that takes all day long. And sometimes if I have a disability, and I need something accessible, I show up to a vendor, and I can't even get in, or it's really hard. So, if people stop and think about, well, gosh, I take this, I can do this, that, and the other anytime I want. Not everybody can. And when you have all these challenges, and I see it every day. I see people who have challenges every day, and so I always say to myself, look, how can the Housing Authority, how can Disability Connections, anybody else, how can we make things easier? We shouldn't be in the business of making things harder. We should be in the business of making things easier, from travel to consuming goods to enjoying life. Because life, darn it, is hard enough for everybody. But when you have extra challenges, it's really heartbreaking sometimes. So yeah, that's why I'm passionate about it, because I see it every day, and I get phone calls every day from somebody who's looking for an accessible unit, for affordable housing, or both. I mean, and so my heart breaks sometimes when I can't give them a good answer. I can't put them on a waiting list that's going to move in a couple days. It's going to be a couple years, and to hear the despair, you only have to hear that conversation once in your lifetime, and it will change you. And so I think we should be in the business of taking this very, very seriously, and there's no reason why we can't do this. There's absolutely no reason.
And I'd say we get those calls.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Many times a day.
Yeah.
We certainly do. And just to kind of help us close, and where people who may be watching this say, well, where do I go from here, kind of thing. Now, in regards to Disability Connections and the way our MOU works, you just call us. And even dropping by, we're going to talk to you through the door. We'll ask you to give us a call, or if you need to, you can step up to our service window. But we'll get you on our waiting list, and we might ask a few questions in order to kind of make sure that you're eligible. And but it does take quite a few years. So that's kind of how our system works. But Mike, if you don't mind mentioning to anybody maybe watching, like there is the choice voucher.
Yep, housing choice voucher.
Housing choice voucher,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's also y'all's properties that y'all own,
Right,
which
right.
is what used to be called project based.
Right.
And if there's any other services that y'all provide.
So yeah, basically, again, back to these waiting lists, but the Section 8, the general Section 8 housing choice voucher program list will open probably later this year, meaning we'll take applications, and generally we'll take 3,000 applications, and then it takes us a couple years to work through all those applications. So that's one way, and we advertise that far and wide. When we open that, we generally open it for 5 days. You call in, get on the list, and then we close it and start working that process. And then, of course, when Disability Connections refers folks over to us, then we work hard to make sure they're qualified for Section 8, and then put a voucher in their hand. And sometimes that can be a long process, because you've got, we do an inspection. We want to make sure the unit passes. It's got to pass, and if there's an issue, the landlord has to have a chance to fix those challenges, and sometimes that takes a while, especially labor market and construction. Back to that challenge right now. And then each site we own, you can actually go to that site and apply there and get on that particular waiting list. And those are tax credit properties, we call them. And there's probably, in Macon, we own or manage 10 or 15 of them in total. There's other operators too, so there's probably 20 of those types of properties that are affordable in Macon. And we have a list that we publish. People can call the Housing Authority and get the list, and then they can call that property directly and get on that particular waiting list at that property. So,
And do y'all report some of the that information, or is there a feed or something to like Go Section 8 website?
yeah,
and the
thank
others?
you. Yeah, so go Section 8 or GeorgiaHousingSearch.org.
Yes.
That's where all landlords advertise their units, and not just in Macon, but all over the state of Georgia.
Right.
So anytime they have a vacancy, they'll list their property there. and then you can call them directly. And so, and then we maintain a list also at the Housing Authority of all properties that maybe we're not associated with, but we know they're subsidized. And so we have that entire list with their phone number. A good example, for instance, is Vineville Christian Towers. The Housing Authority doesn't own that property or manage it, but it is subsidized. And so people can go to Vineville Christian Towers and apply. And again, there's 20 of those types of properties in Macon that are subsidized and affordable. They just don't necessarily have a connection with the Housing Authority.
Gotcha. Well, we, number one, appreciate your partnership and appreciate your spirit for Macon and the community, as well as the people that you work with and serve. And, people complain about a lot. They can complain about a lot of things.
Oh,
and,
sure.
and the fact of the matter is, it does exist that we have a housing shortage. We have a housing shortage with accessible. But I can tell you that the Macon Housing Authority, under Mike Austin's direction and leadership, that they are working diligently and very hard on increasing the availability of housing, and not just throwing it up and slapping it up. There is a lot of depth to what you're doing. If you look at that Tyndall Heights property, you could shove it all with housing and people on top of each other, and there is an aspect of congregation can create problems.
Sure.
But if you create more of a community and you create connection, and services and supports and things, but to enhance it, to make it beautiful and to make it look good, it not only helps the neighborhood, but it helps the people who are living there, as well as the college, university
Sure.
that is there.
Sure.
It's just huge.
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys are doing so much incredible things, and I can't keep up with it all. I do.
I can't either.
I remember y'all had that open house, and I really wanted to get there. I had a conflict, and I do like to try to stay on top of things. So this is an invitation to maybe, a few months down the road or whatever, maybe your invitation to come back or something
Absolutely.
exciting's happening.
Absolutely.
I'd love to have
I'd
you
love
back.
I'd love to come back.
And you could stay right there in your office or come visit the studio.
This is great.
Yeah. So we'll change up the look. We'll,
This is great. I love it.
yeah,
Love it.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Mike, and we are glad you're here with us, and we can look forward to continually working with us. And you guys, if you enjoyed this interview, please let us know. Join our community online. Mike, you're welcome to
Thank
join
you.
us
I
as
will.
well. It's
Thank you.
disabilityconnections.tv.
All right.
And there's a link on our main website at disabilityconnections.com that you can go there, and you just have to fill out a little form. And then we have online courses. We have different groups to talk about certain issues, and we'll probably have one on housing. We have, and I do want to share this, anytime somebody gets on our waiting list, we're trying to get them to take our course on budgeting.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's a unique little program that we
Nice.
have, and we've got it now on our online community.
Good.
We have another platform we're still using, but if you as an individual want to talk to other individuals who are seeking housing and want to know the ins and outs, or
Sure.
are hear from us, or have a little faster track to talk to us, that's available there. So anyway, I just want to encourage people to join us online, take that course, and we have other independent living courses on there. So it's on the basics of budgeting.
Yeah.
So the whole housing thing is kind of a budgeting and finance issue. So we want to support in that way. So you're getting more than even if you don't get a voucher. And we've had people tell us that they get so much more out of this course, and they weren't able to get a voucher, but they were able to start managing their money. So it was
Great.
huge.
That's huge.
Really huge.
That's huge. That's
Okay.
great.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you all out there for joining us. And we are going to do this again real soon. This was our ADA celebration week, and that's kind of why we pulled this off. It's
That's
really
great.
great.
Right
So,
there.
and we hope to see more things to come as far as the ADA, and there'll be some enhancements and things. But it has meant a lot to a lot of folks, and I think it has been a push even on housing.
Yeah.
And there's
Sure.
fair housing laws and things like that.
Sure.
But the ADA has done a lot. So fantastic, y'all. We appreciate y'all being here, and we'll see you again real soon. And thank y'all for joining and watching, and we'll see you again. Take care, everybody.